1. Let me tell you about this absolutely stunning 1965 Ford Ranchero that's caught my eye on Craigslist. At $25,000, we're looking at a seriously well-maintained piece of American automotive history. This isn't just any Ranchero. It's a deluxe model finished in a sleek jet black that'll turn heads wherever it goes. What really gets me excited is what's under the hood. A crisp 302 V8 paired with a top-loader 4-speed manual transmission. That's a fantastic powertrain combination that'll give you both the power and the engagement you want from a classic like this. The odometer shows 89,461 miles, which is pretty reasonable for a vehicle of this age. The owner has clearly invested in making this Ranchero drive as good as it looks. They've recently updated the steering with a close ratio box and added an IDIT tilt column for better control and comfort. The power front disc brake conversion is a smart safety upgrade, and who doesn't love a professionally installed new sound system? That red interior against the black exterior? Chef's kiss. It's just perfect. And those nostalgic Keystone mags wrapped in BFG rubber really complete the period-correct look while providing modern performance. Being sold by Lady Luck Garage in Kelseyville, California, with a clean title, this Ranchero represents a turnkey classic that's ready to cruise. The seller's right. You'd spend way more trying to build something like this from scratch. 2. Let me give you the honest scoop on this 1970 Ford F100 that's listed for $9,500. This is one of those classic trucks that's got both charm and challenges, so let's break it down. Under the hood, you've got the robust 360 V8 paired with a C6 automatic transmission, a solid, reliable powertrain combo. The seller's been busy with some decent upgrades: new spark plugs and wires, Edelbrock valve covers and air filter, fresh battery, and a modern touchscreen Bluetooth radio. They've also tackled some maintenance with new brakes, oil change, transmission work, and taillight wiring. But let's be real here. This truck needs some love. The fenders are showing rust, always a concern with these old Fords, and the wood bed needs either repair or replacement. The bench seat's crying out for new upholstery, and you'll need to budget for new tires. There's also that possible rear main seal leak to consider, and the speedometer isn't working, with the odometer showing 100,000 miles before it quit. At $9,500, you're looking at a project truck that's still drivable, but needs some TLC. It's got that classic flare-side long bed style that people love, and the bones are good, but you'll want to factor in some restoration costs. The clean title is a plus, and that 360 C6 combo is known for being bulletproof when maintained. For someone who's willing to put in some work and isn't afraid of a few weekend projects, this could be a rewarding classic truck to own. Just go in with your eyes open about the rust and repairs needed. These F100s have a strong following, and parts availability is generally good. 3. Let me tell you about this sweet 1968 Chevy truck that's caught my attention at $9,500. This isn't your average classic pickup. Someone's put some serious thought and modern upgrades into this build. The heart of this beast is a modern 5.3L Vortec V8 with a Phi-Tech LSX ECU paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission. That's a fantastic combination that brings reliable modern power to this classic body. The Holley mid-rise intake manifold and aluminum radiator suggest this truck was built with performance and reliability in mind. The exterior is rocking a clean two-tone satin black and gloss white paint job, and the seller claims there's no rust. Always great news for a truck of this age. Those 20 US mags wheels give it a modern stance, while the chrome bumpers keep that classic charm. The red oak bed floor adds a gorgeous touch of class. Inside you'll find black vinyl seats with houndstooth inserts, a perfect blend of classic style and comfort. The modern touches continue with a Pioneer CD stereo and subwoofer for those who like their classics with some current comforts. The upgrades don't stop there. It's got power steering and power front disc brakes, making this classic as drivable as a modern truck. The shide headlights are another smart upgrade for better visibility. At 150,000 miles with a clean title and considering all the modern upgrades, $9,500 seems like a solid deal for someone wanting a classic truck with modern reliability. The seller's motivated for a quick sale to fund a new vehicle, so there might even be some room for negotiation. 4. Let me tell you about this absolutely gorgeous 1971 Chevrolet K5 Blazer CST that's up for grabs at $24,000. This isn't just any Blazer, we're talking about the desirable CST trim level, and it's presented in a head-turning ochre color that really showcases the iconic lines of these first-generation K5s. Under the hood, you've got the tried-and-true 350 Ci V8 pushing out 255 horses, plenty of muscle for both street and trail duty. It's paired with a 3-speed automatic and a dual-range transfer case, making this a true go-anywhere 4x4. With 95,037 miles on the clock and a clean title, this Blazer appears to have been well maintained throughout its life. The interior features saddle brown vinyl seats, which is a perfect period-correct touch that complements the exterior beautifully. One of the coolest features of these early Blazers is the removable white hardtop, giving you the option for open-air adventures when the weather's right. The chrome bumpers add just the right amount of bling, and those locking front hubs mean business when it comes to off-road capability. At $24,000, you're looking at an investment-grade classic SUV that's been rising in value over the past few years. These first-gen K5 Blazers are becoming increasingly sought after, especially clean examples like this one. The CST trim level adds to its desirability, as it was the luxury package of its day. For someone looking for a classic 4x4 that combines style, capability, and potential investment value, this Blazer checks all the boxes. It's got the right color combination, the right options, and appears to be in beautiful condition. 5. Let me tell you about this 1965 Ford F100 that's up for grabs at $7,000. This is one of those honest working-class trucks that's got some real charm to it. We're looking at a 4R4 setup with the straight-six engine paired to a manual transmission, a combination known for its reliability and simplicity. The seller's been busy with maintenance, and that's always good to see. They've tackled some important items: new tires, fresh carburetor, new wheel bearings, brakes, fuel pump, and a new clutch. These are all crucial wear items that often need attention on these old trucks, so it's great that they've been addressed. The odometer shows 101,000 miles, but has rolled over, so we're looking at 201,000 plus miles here. But hey, these old Fords were built to last, and with that straight-six engine, it's probably just getting broken in. The yellow paint gives it a distinctive look, and having a clean title is always a plus. At $7,000, you're getting a classic 4x4 truck that's had some important mechanical refreshing done. It's not a show queen, but it appears to be a solid running and driving example of these increasingly popular classic trucks. The 4x4 setup makes it even more desirable, as many of these were just two-wheel drive. For someone looking for a vintage truck with some real character and functionality, this F100 could be a great choice. Just remember, it's a nearly 60-year-old vehicle, so while it runs great according to the seller, you should still expect it to need the kind of attention any classic vehicle requires. 6. Let me tell you about this seriously impressive 1984 Chevy K10 that's listed for $25,000. Now I know that price might raise some eyebrows, but wait until you hear what's been done to this truck. First off, this is a one-family-owned K10 since new. That's nearly 40 years of history with the same family, which is pretty special. But what really makes this truck stand out is the mechanical restoration. We're talking about a fresh blueprint engine and a rebuilt 700R4 transmission with less than 4,000 miles on them. That's basically a brand new powertrain in a classic body. The upgrades list is extensive and thoughtful. Bilstein shocks for better ride quality, a 2-inch lift via new leaf springs, new fuel tanks and sending units, electric fuel pumps for reliable fuel delivery, and a split exhaust system with a new intake manifold. They've even upgraded the brake booster for better stopping power. Just keep in mind, it's not emissions compliant, no cats, so check your local regulations. The truck shows 136,628 miles on the odometer, wears a nice blue paint job, and comes with a clean title. Being a K10, you've got that desirable 4x4 capability, and the automatic transmission makes it easy to daily drive if you want to. At $25,000, you're paying for all the recent mechanical work and upgrades more than just the truck itself. Someone has spent serious time and money making this K10 drive like a much newer vehicle while keeping its classic looks. This isn't just a preserved classic, it's been thoroughly modernized under the skin. 7. Let me tell you about this 1976 Chevy Silverado shortbox stepside that's caught my eye at $18,900. Now let's be real about what we're looking at here. It's a classic truck that's been given some love, but still has room for improvement. The heart of this beauty is a 350 crate motor paired with an automatic transmission, which is a reliable and powerful combination. The odometer shows 103,140 miles, but has rolled over, so we're looking at 203,140 plus actual miles. Though with that crate motor, the engine mileage is likely much lower. What's particularly appealing about this truck is that it's a short box stepside, one of the most desirable body styles for these classics. The seller's honest about its condition. It's not a show truck yet, but it's been partially restored and, importantly, isn't a rust bucket, which is always a major concern with these old Chevys. At $18,900 or best offer, you're buying a solid foundation with lots of potential. The seller mentions everything works as it should, which is a big plus for a truck of this age. Being a two-wheel drive model, it's more suited for cruising and showing than off-road duty. For someone looking for a classic Chevy truck that's driver quality with show potential, this could be a great opportunity. The stepside box adds that extra bit of style that makes these trucks so desirable. While the asking price might seem a bit ambitious, remember that clean, rust-free examples of these trucks are getting harder to find, and that crate motor is a valuable addition. 8. Let me tell you about this honest 1968 Chevy C10 that's up for grabs at $9,000. This is one of those classics that's being sold with transparency. The seller's not trying to hide anything, and I appreciate that. Under the hood, you've got the original 307 V8 engine, which is pretty cool for originality's sake. The only non-original bits are the 4-barrel carburetor and intake manifold, which are actually welcome upgrades for better performance. It's paired with a manual transmission, making it a fun, engaging driver. The seller's recently done some important maintenance, including an oil change, new plugs, tune-up, and a new timing chain. All good signs of care. Now let's talk about condition honestly. The burgundy paint is very faded, no sugarcoating there, and there's a dent by the taillight along with what the seller describes as a very small amount of rust. The interior is described as good plus, which is promising for a truck of this age. There's a small detail to note. It's wearing a C20 badge when it should be a C10, but that's an easy fix. The odometer shows 51,541 miles, but has rolled over, so the actual mileage is unknown. But hey, with these old trucks, it's more about condition than mileage anyway. At $9,000, you're looking at a solid project truck that's already running and driving well. It's not a show queen, but it's got good bones and could be a great canvas for either a full restoration or a cool daily driver with some patina. These 68 C10s are highly sought after, and finding one with its original engine that runs well isn't always easy. 9. Let me tell you about this interesting 1982 Chevy 3/4-ton Silverado that's listed for $22,000. What makes this one special is that it's equipped with the 6.2L diesel engine, a powertrain option that's getting harder to find in original condition these days. The truck comes with its factory paint design in brown, which is a cool period-correct feature that you don't see often anymore. Being a 4x4 long bed model, it's got the capability and utility that many buyers look for in these classic workhorses. The seller mentions it's got a new interior, which is a nice upgrade considering these trucks are now over 40 years old. Now let's talk numbers. The odometer shows 41,000 miles but is rolled over, so we're looking at 141,000 plus actual miles. That said, these old diesel engines were built to last, and many consider them just broken in at that mileage. One interesting point is that it's never needed smog testing, which can be a big plus depending on your location. The automatic transmission paired with the diesel engine makes for a comfortable driving experience. At $22,000, I've got to be honest, that's a pretty ambitious asking price, even for a clean diesel square body. While these trucks have been climbing in value, you'll want to inspect this one carefully to justify that price tag. Make sure to check all the typical diesel-specific issues and the 4x4 system thoroughly. 10. Let me tell you about this clean 1985 Chevy C10 Silverado that's up for grabs at $14,800. This is one of those increasingly rare examples where someone's kept things largely original, and it shows. What we're looking at here is a Silverado Package C10 with 122,000 original miles. Not bad at all for a truck pushing 40 years old. The seller's done some smart maintenance work, including rebuilding the carburetor and installing a new driver's side gas tank with fresh sending unit and valve for the dual tank system. That's important because these dual tank setups can be a pain when they're not working right. One of the big selling points here is that all the power accessories are present and working. Power windows, power door locks, and most importantly, the AC is blowing cold. Anyone who's owned one of these trucks knows how rare it is to find one with working AC. The interior is described as very clean, which is another plus since these interiors often show their age. The truck's just passed smog, always good news in states that require it, and the seller mentions it's running very smoothly. Tires are in good condition, which is another expense you won't have to worry about immediately. At $14,800, you're paying for originality and condition. While that might seem steep to some, finding a clean, original square body C10 with working AC and power options is getting harder every year. These trucks have been climbing in value, especially well-maintained examples. 11. Let me tell you about this sweet 1985 Ford Bronco that's listed for $18,500. This is one of those rare finds that's only had 2 owners throughout its life. Always a good sign for these classic SUVs. What's really catching my attention here is how much recent maintenance has been done. We're looking at new tires and rims, fresh battery, new master cylinder and brake booster, important safety items, new wiper motor, and a new heater blower motor. These are all common failure points on these old Broncos, so it's great to see they've been addressed. The odometer shows 138,000 miles, which isn't bad at all for these workhorses. One of the most impressive features is that the rear window still works. If you know these Broncos, you know that's often a trouble spot, so finding one with a functioning rear window is a big plus. The seller's being upfront about the modifications, blacked out glass on the sides and doors within legal limits, and they've upgraded the audio system with a new stereo and speakers. The interior is described as very solid, with no cracks in the dash, another common issue with these, and importantly, there's no major rust mentioned, with a solid undercarriage. At $18,500, you're in the ballpark for a well-maintained 85 Bronco, especially considering the recent maintenance and upgrades. These vehicles have been steadily climbing in value, particularly clean, rust-free examples. 12. Let me give you the straight scoop on this 1972 Chevy C20 Longhorn that's listed for $4,200. I've got to be honest here. This is a project truck that needs some serious love, and the seller's being refreshingly upfront about it. Let's start with the good stuff. It's got the classic 350 V8 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, which is a desirable combo. The truck does run and has good oil pressure, which is positive. The upper cab and engine bay are described as solid, and it comes with a clean title. Now let's talk about the challenges, and there are quite a few. The engine's currently running rough with a stutter, likely due to carburetor issues, stuck needle, or possibly the fuel pump. But the bigger concerns are structural. We're looking at significant rust in the cab bottom, floors, supports, sills, and both inner and outer rockers. That's not minor surface rust, folks. That's serious structural rust that'll require substantial metalwork to fix properly. The odometer shows 159,546 miles, but has rolled over, so we're looking at 259,546 plus actual miles. However, with a truck this old needing this much work, the mileage is almost irrelevant. At $4,200, you're buying a project that's going to need significant time, money, and skills to restore. These C20 Longhorns are cool trucks with a strong following, but you'll want to be realistic about the restoration costs. They'll likely exceed the asking price several times over. 13. Let me tell you about this interesting 1965 Chevy C20 that's up for grabs for $4,200. This is one of those time capsule finds with an interesting twist. It hasn't seen road duty since 1987, but there's more to the story. The biggest highlight here is what's under the hood, a 402 BBC big block Chevy that was installed in the early 80s. All the important parts, block, heads, and intake, are dated 1969, and the sellers got documentation from a 1984 smog inspection to prove the engine swap timeline. It's still running its original style points distributor and Rochester carb setup, and the seller says it starts and runs smooth with no smoke. The body's described as very straight, though there is some rust in the fenders. Check the photos carefully. The floors are solid with original paint, which is always good news on these old trucks. The bedwood has been replaced with plywood, original metal strips are still there. And yes, the original seat is torn. Here's what's really impressive. The recent work list: new fuel tank and sender, complete brake system overhaul, master cylinder, wheel cylinders, shoes, lines, and grease seals, new battery, fuel pump, oil change, spark plugs, carb work, thermostat, valve cover gaskets, and new wheels and tires. That's a lot of fresh parts. At $4,200, you're getting a custom cab C20 with a big block and lots of recent mechanical refreshing. The 85,333 miles showing are claimed original, and it comes with a clean California title with the original 1965 pink slip. That's pretty cool documentation. 14. Let me tell you about this seriously impressive 1980 Chevy C10 that's listed for $28,000. This isn't your average square body. Someone has put some serious thought and money into making this a modern performer while keeping that classic look. Let's start with the heart of this beast. A 5.3L engine that's been thoroughly built with Gen 4 rods, flat-top pistons, a TSP Stage 3 truck cam, BTR 6060 springs, and long tube headers flowing into a 3-inch collector. The intake setup is modernized with an NNBS intake and 90mm throttle body. This power plant is matched to a built 4L60E transmission with all the right upgrades: B&M shift kit, Corvette servo, fluid cooler, and a B&M 3400 stall converter. Out back, there's a 12-bolt diff with 4.10 Richmond gears. Both the engine and trans have less than 20,000 miles since their builds. The exterior is clean with a recent paint job in red, and it's got that desirable short bed stepside configuration. They've modernized the stance with drop spindles and shocks up front, a flip kit in the rear, and it's rolling on 20-inch US mags with fresh rubber. Importantly, the seller claims zero rust anywhere. Inside, you'll find Autometer ultra-light gauges, new carpet, restored door panels, and a decent bench seat and dash. There's a complete sound system with 4 speakers, 2 subs, and 2 amps. All the weather stripping has been replaced with new door and window gaskets. At $28,000, or best offer, you're paying for a thoroughly modernized classic that's been built with quality parts. This isn't just a pretty face, it's got the mechanical upgrades to back up its looks. The combination of the step-side body style with modern performance parts makes this a unique build. 15. Let me tell you about this super cool 1966 Chevy C10 that's up for grabs at $21,500. This isn't your average classic truck. It's got some really interesting features that make it stand out. First off, we're looking at an all-original paint truck with natural patina, which is becoming increasingly desirable in the classic truck world. What makes this one special is the short bed conversion, done by Kyle at Metalox Fabrication in Arizona. When you're talking about bed conversions, who does the work matters a lot, and Metalox is known for doing things right. They reinforced the frame and properly shortened the driveline. No corners cut here. Under the hood, you've got the original 292 inline-6 engine, which is running strong and paired with a floor-shifted 4-speed manual transmission. That's a fun, engaging drivetrain combo that gives you that classic truck experience. Recent maintenance includes a new exhaust system, and the seller notes that the brakes, including the e-brake and steering, are all working properly. The stance is just right with a 3-inch drop up front and 5 inches in the rear, sitting on original steel wheels with factory hubcaps and new tires. That's a classic look that never goes out of style. Inside, the truck maintains its stock appearance with a clean dash and mostly good seat. There is one rip mentioned. The stock-looking radio is functional, which is a nice touch. Now let's be honest about the rust. There is some on the front fenders, as shown in the photos. But that's pretty minimal for a truck of this age, especially considering it's wearing its original paint. 16. Let me tell you about this interesting 1984 Chevy K20 Suburban that's listed for $5,500. This is one of those classic square-body Suburbans with the 6.2L diesel engine, a combination that's getting harder to find these days. The odometer's showing 236,000 miles and is currently broken. But that's not necessarily a deal-breaker for these old diesel rigs. These 6.2L engines were built to last, even if they weren't powerhouses. The seller says it runs and drives great, which is promising, and importantly, the 444 system is working well. That's always a key point to check on these old 444s. It's pretty cool that this Suburban is still all original, and it even retains its factory jack under the hood, a small detail that shows it hasn't been picked apart over the years. The interior features front captain's chairs with a center console, which was a more comfortable setup than the standard bench seat. At $5,500, you're looking at an entry-level price point for a classic square-body Suburban, especially one with 4.4 and the diesel engine. These vehicles have been gaining popularity, but this one's priced at a level where you could actually use it as intended without worrying too much about preserving it. Just remember, while the 6.2L diesel is known for reliability, it's not known for power. These engines were more about economy than performance. Also, being a 39-year-old vehicle with over 236,000 miles, you should expect to do some maintenance and repairs along the way. 17. Let me tell you about this 1981 Chevrolet Silverado that's listed for $28,000. Now, I've got to be honest. While the seller's description is pretty brief, they're making some bold claims that deserve attention. The truck's showing 58,129 miles, which is remarkably low for a 42-year-old vehicle, if accurate. The seller states it's all original and in excellent condition with no rust, which would be quite rare for a truck of this age. One particularly noteworthy claim is that the AC blows cold. Finding a working AC system in an '81 Silverado is like finding a needle in a haystack. Under the hood, we've got a V8, though the seller doesn't specify which one, paired with an automatic transmission. These were solid powertrains when properly maintained, and the seller does mention it's well maintained. Now, about that $28,000 asking price, that's definitely on the higher end for an '81 Silverado. At this price point, you'd expect extensive documentation of maintenance history, original paperwork, and absolutely pristine condition inside and out. Unfortunately, the seller's brief description doesn't give us much detail to justify the price. 18. Let me tell you about this interesting 1983 GMC Sierra 1500 I found on Craigslist. Look, I'll be straight with you. $17,000 is pretty ambitious for this classic, especially given its condition. It's a short bed 4x4 with the 305 V8 and a 4-speed automatic, which is a solid combination. But let's be real about what we're looking at here. The truck's been sitting for 3 months, and while the odometer shows 90,000 miles, it's rolled over at least once. So we're talking about significant mileage here. The seller's honest about a coolant leak, which is something you'll want to address. The interior features a red bench seat, and surprisingly both the heat and AC are working. That's actually a nice plus for a truck of this vintage. The previous owner had the engine rebuilt, and the current owner mentions investing a couple grand into it as well. That's good news for the mechanical side, though you'll want documentation of what was done. Being a weekend-only vehicle in recent years might have helped preserve it somewhat, but the fair condition rating tells us this isn't a showpiece. It's a classic truck that needs some love. The black paint and clean title are positives, but at this price point, you're really paying for the increasingly rare classic GMC Sierra platform. 19. We're taking a closer look at a classic 1974 Ford F-250 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. With an asking price of $8,500, this vintage pickup might just be the perfect fit for those who appreciate the charm and character of old steel vehicles. Now, let's dive into the details provided by the seller. This Ford truck is powered by an FE390 engine, paired with a C6 transmission, ensuring a strong and reliable performance. The seller mentions that the truck runs well, which is always a good sign when considering a classic vehicle. It's clear that the owner has put some work into this F-250, with recent upgrades including an aluminum intake, an Edelbrock 4-barrel carb, a new fuel tank, fuel line, and fuel pump. The drive shaft has been rebuilt, and the truck features aftermarket performance headers for an extra boost in power. The rear main seal, transmission gaskets, and transmission pan have also been replaced, along with a new pinion gear seal, windshield, and heater core. The radiator has been recently updated as well, and the seller proudly states that the truck always passes inspections. However, it's important to note that the truck does have some issues that potential buyers should be aware of. The dash lights and gauges need some attention, although the seller does have a couple of spare instrument clusters included. As with many classic vehicles, there is a bit of rust present, particularly in the cab corners, which is not uncommon for a truck of this age. The window and door rubber need replacement, and the seat cover and windshield wiper knob are also in need of some TLC. 20. We're taking a closer look at a 1985 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 that's currently available on Craigslist for just $2,500. If you're in the market for a classic pickup truck with some serious potential, this might be the perfect project for you. Now let's dive into the details provided by the seller. Under the hood, you'll find a rebuilt 350 engine that's been given some serious upgrades. The engine was machined with bigger pistons and features a high rev cam, which suggests that this truck is ready to deliver some impressive performance. The heads have also been ported and polished, further enhancing the engine's capabilities. The seller mentions that the engine was installed 2 years ago, but due to other commitments, the project was put on hold. As a result, the truck is not entirely back together in terms of the drivetrain and coolant system. However, the seller is willing to start the engine for interested buyers and even has a video of the engine running when it was first installed. It's important to note that the seller does mention the presence of a little rust on the truck. While this is not uncommon for a vehicle of this age, it's something to keep in mind when considering the overall condition of the truck. The seller describes the condition as good, but it's always a good idea to inspect the vehicle in person to get a better sense of its true state. On the plus side, the truck comes with a clean title, which is always a bonus when purchasing a used vehicle. The odometer reading of 130,000 miles suggests that this Silverado 1500 has plenty of life left in it, especially considering the rebuilt engine.